Hi, I'm Adam Grabowski. I'm 26 years old and I live in Dearborn, Michigan. A little bit about myself. I attended the Savannah College of Art and Design. I graduated with a degree in sequential art in 2009. And since then, I've been doing a bunch of things. I've been doing freelance miniature sculpture. I have started my own silicone mask and latex prop business. It's still small. I'm worked my way up. And recently, I started doing environment art for an indie video game project called Neverending Nightmares. That's pretty cool. We just had a successful Kickstarter. And I've been doing makeup since I was in college. I've helped out friends on their student films. And I really just kind of went from there. And you'll see the final result of that here in this video. Alright, so we started the process off with a life cast. I'm just smearing some Vaseline on my face, make it easier to take off. My brother's helping me out, mixing some alginate and applying it to my face. It's kind of a messy process. It's not very fun being under there, but it's not terrible. Making sure it gets all the nooks and crannies in my face. After the alginate sets up, you can put on some plaster bandages to make sure it keeps its form. They're being reasonably careful to leave me a breathing hole. I don't want it to turn into a death mask. And we gotta let it harden up. And once that's all set, I can take it off. And it looks like it came out pretty good. So here's the initial sculpting phase. The inspiration for this makeup was a nature documentary I saw years ago, and there's a fungus called the cordyceps that infects and takes over insects and kind of turns them into a zombie. And as you can see, I have the fruiting bodies bursting through the skin, just slowly building up the texture, refining the sculpture as I go. And here is pretty close to the final sculpture. These are the little pieces I'll put around my body. And so here I have started the molding process. I'm using UltraCal 30, building up the layers. And here is the finish mold, with all the plaster and burlap on there. And here are the foam latex pieces after they came out of the oven. I decided to pre-paint these before I applied them, just to make sure I got the fruiting bodies colored correctly. And here they are finished. And now I'm adding spirit gum to the appliances, and I'm kind of tapping it on to activate the stickiness, and just gently applying it with my fingers. And that's the shoulder piece. And there are the facial pieces. And the spirit gum's really nice. It holds pretty well, but it's not really terrible to take off. And now here I'm using liquid latex to kind of smooth the seam lines between the appliance and my skin. And I built that up in several layers to get the seam lines a lot nicer. And then here I'm applying the base coat of the makeup with a nice cheap chip brush. And now I'm adding some darker flecks. Just having little drops and drips come off that paintbrush. That kind of creates a nice mottled pattern. I'm adding some darker color around my eye. Just adding, a little bit of just random variation. And then now I can airbrush in some of the darker purples, kind of fade out between the fruiting bodies and the rest of my skin. I applied it in kind of a random pattern that suggests more of like veins or growth or something. Just slowly building up the colors. That creates a much more natural transition. You can see some of the veinage
of modeling. See a little bit more. I've had these teeth for a while. I made them several years ago. Oh, and there's the completed makeup with the highlights and everything in. And here is the completed plague zombie from space. I'm not a very good actor. And here's just some final production stills. Close up of the fruiting bodies. That is the technical term for those.
All right. Well, that's that. Thanks so much for sticking around and watching the whole thing. If you want to see some more of my artwork, just go to the websites. I should have links right there for you. And thanks again. Take care.